Hi everybody, Dennis Brown here. Many of you are probably wondering, what the heck was that I just played? Well, that was the intro, or my rendition of the intro to the song FM by Steely Dan. And of course, Steely Dan, as many of you know, was really just two guys. Donald Fagen on keyboards and Walter Becker on guitar and bass. And when they made their albums, they made quite a few albums, they brought in the best studio musicians that money could buy, really the best players in the country, played on Steely Dan albums. Excuse me. And I'll be telling you more about that a little later. But first of all, as you just saw, all I was playing was, right? Not too difficult, and there was a lot of other stuff going on. That other stuff was coming from a backing track that I created on my computer using Logic Pro 10, and I'll probably do some future videos where I go back into Logic Pro 10 and explain how I do backing tracks in a little more detail. I did a little bit of that one or two videos ago, but I think I want to do some more of that. I also want to get into a virtual instrument package that I use within Logic Pro 10. It's called Complete Ultimate by a German company, Native Instruments. And it's a huge package of virtual instruments, all kinds of acoustic instruments, pianos, guitars, basses, horns, strings, a whole bunch of synthesizers, etc. But that'll be for a future video. Right now I want to play for you an intro to another Steely Dan song, classic, and then I'll talk some more about Steely Dan. So play the video. Yeah, of course, that was the intro to the song Aja, spelled A-J-A. And according to Donald Fagen, Aja was the name of a Korean woman who married a friend of Donald Fagen's. And let's see, I want to talk a little bit more about Steely Dan. Well, first of all, let's just talk about the recording engineer. A guy named Roger Nichols was the recording engineer for the Aja album, also for the FM single, and he won a Grammy for Best Engineered Recording in a Non-Classical Piece. I think he won that for FM and maybe also for Aja. But legendary recording engineer Roger Nichols. Now, speaking of legendary, some of the musicians who played on the Aja album, here's a list, a partial list of some of the people who played on that Aja album. Bonus question, first of all, there's a sax solo in the song Aja by a famous jazz saxophonist. And who was that? Wayne Shorter played that sax solo in the middle part of Aja. And let's see, drummers who played on the Aja album, Jeff Porcaro, Steve Gadd, Bernard Pretty Purdy, all fantastic drummers. Chuck Rainey played bass, and he was really a jazz guy. In fact, most of the guys, or many of the guys who played with Steely Dan were jazz musicians. And if you go to Wikipedia and read about Steely Dan, Wikipedia refers to Steely Dan as a jazz rock group, which is certainly accurate because there's a lot of jazz influence in their songs. Also playing on the Aja album, Victor Feldman on Fender Rhodes, plus acoustic piano, plus vibes, and even some percussion. Joe Sample, who played with the Crusaders, who was one of the founding members of the Crusaders, I should say. He played on the Aja album some piano, some Fender Rhodes, some clavinet. Guitarists, we had Larry Carlton, one of my all-time favorites, Lee Ritenour, Dean Parks, Denny Diaz, and I think some other guitarists were in there as well. Tom Scott played saxophone on some of the Asia cuts, and Tom Scott was a really great West Coast sax player. And then you had Michael McDonald doing some of the background vocals, and in particular in Peg, when it goes to the chorus, and the background singers are going, Peg! You can clearly hear Michael McDonald's distinctive voice in that group of, in the vocals, singing the background Peg, and it's a really full vocal background to the chorus of Peg. Okay, so let's go back to Joe Sample and the Crusaders. The Crusaders, they started in the late '60s, I believe, and they're for the most part an instrumental group, although they had kind of a breakout hit with the vocalist Randy Crawford on the song Street Life. It was a great tune, and she did a fantastic job singing it. But they were basically an instrumental group, and the Crusaders were Joe Sample on piano, and mostly Fender Rhodes. He was partial to the Fender Rhodes. Drummer Stix Hooper, that's S-T-I-X Hooper, great name for a drummer. Wilton Felder on sax, Wayne Henderson on trombone, Robert Popwell on bass, and Larry Carlton, who I mentioned just a little while ago, played with the Crusaders for quite a few years. And Larry really got around. He played on lots of albums. And let's see, I want to play for you a Crusaders song from 1976 from an album called Those Southern Nights. And it's a tune called Spiral. And it's a great tune. I always liked it. And I'm going to play it all the way through to where the solos would begin. I'm not going to do any improvisation on it. Just play this song for you. And again, it's with a backing track. You'll hear horns and drums and bass. And that whole backing track, of course, was generated by me using the Logic Pro on my computer. And one more thing I wanted to say about Spiral. If you can find it, and it probably shouldn't be hard to find it somewhere on the internet, it's worth listening to because it's a great tune. But Larry Carlton does a great guitar solo, and Joe Sample does a great Fender Rhodes solo. So here is Spiral by the Crusaders from 1976. Play the video. And next, someone asked me how I figured out the songs that I play, and do I buy music or what? The answer is I almost never buy music. I usually figure things out by listening to them, but I have a tool, a software tool, that helps me figure out some of the more complex songs that I try to learn, that I work on. It's called Transcribe, and I'll put the information on screen about Transcribe. I made a little video about Transcribe, showing you some of the features of Transcribe. And let's play that video now. Play the video. I'm in the Transcribe app now, and as I mentioned, this app is available for Mac and PC. I'm pretty sure it's not available for tablet devices or phones, so you need a computer to run this app. And it does a couple of things. The first thing it does, it allows you to slow down tempo, slow down a song without altering pitch. There are lots of other apps, I believe, that do the same thing, so it's not unique in that regard, but nevertheless it's useful to have it included with Transcribe. But what Transcribe does better than any app that I've seen is it analyzes chords. And to analyze chords, you need to go up to View and then Show Chord Guesses. Okay, and then you have this little keyboard appears at the bottom of the screen here with a graph, a histogram type graph. And what that's showing is, I'll give you an example. Let's play a little bit of this song. I've got loaded a song called Blue Water Girl. It's by guitarist Brent Mason out of Nashville. Some years ago he released a CD of his own material, and this is one of his tunes. And the intro is just Fender Rhodes. So Transcribe will figure out chords, but if there's a lot of stuff going on in the song, like drums, bass, maybe other instruments, it can have Transcribe can have trouble picking out the harmonics that it's seeing. So I picked this song because it's going to show pretty clearly what it sees harmonically. And let's just play a little bit of this, and then I'll show you how it analyzes some chords. Here we go. Okay, so those are some pretty nice chords. They're not simple chords by any stretch. Let's just start right at the beginning here. I'm going to just highlight by clicking and dragging this portion. And that's what I selected. Now, what is Transcribe telling us it sees? Okay, first of all, we have an A as a root. Here it is. That's pretty clear. Next, another A. Okay, it just doubles the root. Now there's a C, so it's some kind of an A minor chord. A D, that would be the 11. If this is 10, this would be 11. And then there's another A, and then there's the C doubled again, the minor third. So over here on the right, Transcribe is saying that it thinks the chord is an A minor 11. Well, that's pretty good, because it certainly is. It's definitely an A minor, and that D is certainly the 11th tone up from A. Let's continue and do one more chord. Okay, let's grab that one, which is right about here. Yeah, that's pretty clear. And you can move this selected area around, and you'll see the histogram as I move it. The histogram's changing, and I'll leave it maybe right about there. Now, I've played this song, and I know what the chords are, but let's see what Transcribe is telling us. For this chord, it sounds like this. Okay, I'm going to get that top note out of there. Let's see. Yeah, let's leave it there. Okay, we see an F sharp as the root, then we see an E natural, that's the 7. Then the F sharp again, that's just a double of the root. Now we've got the 3rd or the 10th, the A sharp, and then we've got the 5th or the 12th, the C sharp, and now here's the D sharp, which is the 13. So yeah, we've got the 1, 7, 10, and 13. So clearly it's an F sharp 13. Now let's keep going. If we go up a little more, we see that A sharp again, which is the third or the 10. And now here's that C, which is the sharp 11. And he's even got the 13 coming above that sharp 11. I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, I think I'm hearing the D sharp all the way on top. Okay, so that's Transcribe. Very useful app. I use it a lot to help me figure out the more complex songs that I like to work on, and it's highly recommended. It'll also let you do things like change keys. So maybe you've got a song that's in the key of B, which is not a keyboard player's favorite key, and you might want to move it up or down to a C, or up to a C, or down to a B flat, or whatever. You can change it to any key you want. Another useful feature. So it's a pretty cool app, and it also lets you adjust. If you go to this FX tab, it lets you adjust the key of a song by cents. A cent is a 1/100th of a semitone. And sometimes you'll have a song that you're trying to learn where it's not in an exact key on the keyboard. It might be slightly sharp or flat. You can adjust the cents to get it matching a basic concert pitch instrument, like your piano. Okay, so that's it. Transcribe in a nutshell. Very useful app. Highly recommended. The end. And finally, let's wrap this up. I'm going to play for you a jazz tune that I've always liked. I've played it a lot. It's called Whisper Not, and it was written by Benny Golson in 1956. And Benny was a well-known jazz saxophonist. Played with some of the big bands of the era. And Benny said that he wrote Whisper Not in 20 minutes, which is pretty remarkable because it's a pretty cool tune. One of the things I like about Whisper Not is it starts in C minor, then it quickly modulates to G minor, and then it quickly modulates to D minor. The chorus or the bridge starts on an A half diminished chord. Basically, the song's in D minor, but there's a lot of little quick key changes built into the tune. So it's a pretty cool tune. I hope you like it. Here it is, and thanks for watching.